Okay, welcome back, everybody. It's me back from the future, and I'm here to share my crypto journey with you all. And what we're looking at here on the screen is something a little different than the charts that we typically have up. It is the Wall Street Cheat Sheet, Psychology of a Market Cycle. And what this is essentially is just a repeating fractal. We talked about fractals in the other two videos. Where price kind of does this same shape, the same formation over and over, but especially in a bubble situation where the price goes parabolic straight up and then crashes back down and then resumes kind of a median price range for a while until they repeat it again. And in this case, it's pretty cool when you kind of check this out versus the current Bitcoin chart and current past Bitcoin charts. So let's take a look at this. Again, notice the shape. There's the parabolic rise, the blow off top, they call this, and then the resulting crash from that. Finding support, coming back up with a relief rally, a secondary rally that's typically a lower top than the original blow off top, right? And this formation is so common. And after that, everybody gets complacent and they're just like, oh yeah, we're going to cool off. We're going to take off from here and continue up. And then crash for weeks, days, months, whatever it might be. And then following this journey that happens where folks get angry down at this bottom, and then it comes back up again with another mini relief rally and then crashes again, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this path, this formation, this fractal reoccurs over and over. So we can kind of take this as kind of an imprint that we can, place on the current charts, the current day for Bitcoin, for crypto, for stocks. Okay. So now that we took a look at this, let's kind of back off of it for a little bit. Let's see here. Back off. We're going to blow up into the current day chart. Doesn't that look familiar? Actually, let's just keep that Wall Street cheat sheet up. There we go. Doesn't that look familiar? All right, we've got the meteoric rise, the blow off top, the crash, the secondary lower top, the crash, and the ensuing downward trend, right? So, and look at that. Before this, there was the same meteoric rise, crash, secondary lower top, and then the continuation of the bear market, the bear market, the bear market, right? The bear market. Very similar, huh? It's because it's a fractal, a repeating fractal, okay? Now, what also might surprise you here is that are we looking at today's Bitcoin price? Because it looks a little similar to what we see today, right? Well, no, this is 2013, the bull market of 2013, right? Where there was a blow off top, basically a bubble top, like we see here in the psychology of a market cycle, and also a secondary one right after it, all within 2023. Excuse me, with 2013. Yeah, look at that. Boom and boom, right? And then the recession back into a bear market, okay? Very cool. Again, this is 2013, okay? So it's important to show you all this. Let's keep the Wall Street cheat sheet up here on the left-hand side, but also continue to look into the history of Bitcoin. So let's look a little deeper, right? So that was 2013. Let's keep going here. Oh, hey, what do you know? What do you know? Another blow off top. Okay. Let's see how important this is, though. Remember, this was the 2013 we were just looking at. You can't even see it, right? But what happens in 2017? It's the same thing, right? And let me turn all this noise off here because I'll chat about that with you soon. So this is the 2017 bull run. Same formation. What do you know? Let's even kind of zoom in a little further. What do you know? Meteoric rise, blow off top, crash, secondary lower high, crash, bear market. Meteoric rise, blow off top, secondary high, bear market. All right, you get the picture now. This is 2017. This is when I got into the market, right around this area. Oh, sorry, somewhere in the $2,000 range back in 2017. This was where I got in the first time, and then well, we'll go into that later. So, but interesting here, right? 2017. Fast forward to today. Now, our current fractal for today is a little different. So here it is, current day, right? This is a little different looking. So this is our 2017 fractal, and this is our current day, right? So let's be clear here. So the shape is definitely a little different. So remember, these fractals, they aren't copies of each other, but they rhyme, right? Just like history. In history, there's cycles, and so there is in Bitcoin. 4 year cycles to be exact, right? Okay, so let's not go too long here, but yes, it is a little different looking. I think there was a little bit of a different situation happening during this one. Although it is huge, it still has the same type of shape, right? So we have a meteoric rise. We have the crash, boom, and then we have our second top. But in this case, the second top actually went above this first top. So it really fooled a lot of people because it wasn't our standard blow off top psychology of a market cycle. It was a little different, almost a reverse, right? So this was the high of around 64,000, but then we also went up to 69,000, right? Up here, almost 69,000. Yeah. But then we did follow this pattern of going into a bear market from that top. Boom, came all the way down, another secondary crash, another relief rally. So maybe if you kind of took away this would look a little more like the Wall Street cheat sheet, right? But in essence, it's all one move. So this, if you think of it this way, with a peak somewhere around 69 and then a crash down into the bear market, that would match this function. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about though is where are we today compared to this Wall Street cheat sheet cycle, all right? This is just us taking a guess essentially, but also looking at the history of what these Wall Street cheat sheet bubble blow off tops do. Okay, so where are we in this chart? Are we here? Are we here? Because this is definitely the bear market after the main crash, just like this bear market main crash. Are we here? Are we here? Are we here? Are we here? So each of these has a name. Anger down there at the lowest of the low. I think people were pretty angry down here. But maybe that was more here. Maybe that's here, right? So what I did was I went back. Let's go back into history first, okay? I'm gonna blow the screen back up. And again, I promise this video won't be so long, but it's important to look at all this stuff. So let's look back at the full screen with 2017 is a great comparison versus today, 2022, 2023, and today is February 20th. And 2023 right now, okay? So let's turn on some of this data that I kind of put together ahead of time so we wouldn't spend so much time making it. All right, so what we have here, let's zoom back into 2017 and make this quick comparison, right? What I did was I counted the peaks essentially for 2017, right? And I put them together so that everybody can kind of see them clearly. We had the meteoric rise, the blow off top, that was the one, the first top. Then we had the crash, and then the relief rally, suckers rally, second, that's number 2, right? Then we crashed all the way down to the bottom. We capitulated down here at around $6,000. I remember that moment exactly. It's terrible. But then we V-shaped straight back up from 6,000 to almost 12,000, right? That is the third. I'm calling that the third kind of top peak, right? All right, but then of course we crashed down after a little bit of turbulence here, came right back down just to upset a bunch more people, and then we came back up again, of course, and this is the fourth peak. This was a big suckers rally here, big relief rally that led up to this this peak here, which is around $10,000. Okay. Let's see, 10,000, and then the fifth peak was right over here in this area, right? I'm calling this the fifth peak, okay? Yes, there was another smaller one, but not as notable as the last few. And then, of course, the capitulation area, right? Where we just kept bouncing like a ball. Each time was smaller and smaller and smaller until we finally fell down. And then we crashed all the way to $3,000 roughly. Pretty crazy. $3,000 from $20,000. Insane. Okay? So let's analyze that compared to today. What are we looking at today? This is what this video is all about. Is kind of taking a journey and comparing it to previous fractals. Okay? So I did the same kind of thing. Let's make sure we have a good view here for everybody. So we had our first peak, our second peak, our third peak. Then we had our fourth peak, something like this down here. Okay. Remember, it rhymes. It's not going to be the same giant peak versus the same exact size giant peak. No, we're counting key peaks, right? So 4 and 5, right? My thoughts are we have not reached the capitulation phase. As much as people want to think this was the capitulation phase in this bear market cycle, I don't think that it's the same as this capitulation phase, right? Back in 2018, okay? We have a long way to go till we get to there, right? So let's do some drawing really quick here. I'm not an artist. Okay, so now thoughts. Let's estimate. So we're at peak 5, right? So maybe we come back down and mimic a little bit of what we did back in 2018. We come back down to do something like this, right? We talked about this in yesterday's video. Okay, maybe we do this again. Maybe we come down and then we keep going, right? I'm gonna squeeze this a little bit so we, whoops. Let's delete that. Bear with me, we're almost there. Okay, so let's take a look. So we're right about to here. Here's a great estimation, right? Something like this. Maybe in here we're kind of doing choppy movements. Maybe we're going even higher. Maybe we're doing repeating fractals right here where we're just all staying in this range, which is what I suggested yesterday. But finally, we come up to this capitulation stage where it takes us down to some crazy numbers, right? Maybe 12,000, 10,000, maybe another relief rally. And again, this mimics what we were talking about yesterday, down into the $8,000 range. And this is where we find ourselves in the doldrums, like what happened down here, right? Perhaps. We're just speculating, right? That's what this is all about. So where is this? Where is this area? This is in 2024. So yikes, you're saying 2024 we're going to be 2020 at the end of 2023 all the way through 2024 we're just going to go flat? Yeah, you know, a little choppiness in 2024 of course. But let's mimic what that looks like, okay? And then of course after that doldrums time period, where do we go? Boom, we move into the next bull market, okay? Again, this is a fractal. It's a repeating fractal. This is what charting is all about. We're visually estimating what happened in the past, and we're kind of placing that onto the current and future chart. That's what we've got here, okay? So again, my thoughts on taking another big step down over the next 12 months into that $12,000 range, and then finally wicking down maybe into the $8,000, $9,000 range, right? Let's do another quick scenario on this. We'll just get rid of everything first, and I'll draw something again similar. Let's do it here. Okay, I think we can keep this. Okay, so let's do one more scenario. Again, perhaps we just do something like this all throughout 2023, right? Slowly getting lower and lower. And then we find ourselves cooling off a little bit, right? And then finally, making a drop down to 12,000 or so, right? That's the big capitulation, right? Or maybe we keep going, like I said before, we relief rally, we crash down all the way to that 8,000 point. But this is where it's different, okay? We just wick down to that 8,800 area, right? We wick down there and we come right back up, right up to level off at around 12,800. And then we do the doldrums, something like that, okay? It's kind of what we did over here. That is another scenario, right? Where we don't stay down at that 8,800 number, we just wick down to it. That's probably more likely. And then we level off more in the 12 to 14,000 range and just stay there for the doldrum period throughout 2024, right? And again, throughout 2024, we could find ourselves, you know, slowly moving up as well, right? But either way, it's going to end in this doldrum period and a wick down according to our previous fractals. All of them have been the same. We talked about those, right? Right? Let's go, right? All this history back here that we talked about, they did the same thing, okay? Let's look really quick one more time, right? Let's look at it. What was this, 2013? Right, we did the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, and then wick way down. In this case, we actually took another step down, right? Which is also similar to what I talked about. We take that initial crash, we have a little turbulence, and then finally come back all the way down, right? Again, this is similar to the history of Bitcoin, right? Okay. So let's go back and close this out here. And what I'll do is I'll put this on the screen, just one last quick chat, right? Okay, maybe we'll put it on the weekly chart so it's easier to expand, right? Okay, so what we want to do, and this is my last note and always my message for myself, I will be accumulating here between roughly 15, 14,000. I'll be buying a little bit every day, every couple days, just a little bit, right? Maybe once a week. But then when we really start to hit those lows that we talked about, I'm going to already have limit orders set down in below, 12,800. Limit order, trigger, buy, $10,000, trigger, buy, $8,800, buy. That's what we do. We are going to buy all through this period, all through this zone. This is the buy zone, right? Because we're going to prepare just like here. When that bull market starts to take off, you want to be already in. Just like this last time around, I was not buying anything in these high zones, except for little tiny swing trades. I'll do swing trades whenever we're in here, just to keep a feel of the market. So tiny percentages of my entire stack of crypto was what I was kind of buying and selling here, just to keep a feel of the market. Okay, but again, the majority of what you buy, and basically all of it, should be down at the lows, should be down at these lows, right? And that's why throughout this journey, I'll be making videos, probably once a week, maybe twice a week, making videos, and I'll be discussing, those zones, when we're in those zones, and when it's probably too late to be starting to buy Bitcoin, right? You do not want to be buying Bitcoin, up in this area, up in this region, and specifically not up at the tops of these regions, right? And we know when it gets crazy, whenever the prices move so far away in a short period of time from these lows, you will know.